I believe passionately in the power of the spoken word. No email, text message, or viral video will ever replace it. One person sharing an authentic, compelling message with a receptive listener in real time can shift everything. And that's why I've spent my life's work helping people to build, deliver, and execute more effective and persuasive presentations. Now, my journey started a long time ago, back in high school and in college. I was very fortunate. I had a high school speech coach. His name was Jim Caforio, who really helped three of us from the time that we were sophomores to be extremely competitive in speech and debate. And because of his incredible coaching, we were way ahead of the pack. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this particular sport, let me kind of walk you through a speech tournament experience. A handful of participants will go to a room and they'll deliver their speech to a judge. Now, at the end of 3 preliminary rounds, the individual with the highest ranked scores cumulatively will advance to the semifinal rounds, and then from the semis to the finals. Now, I didn't always win. Wanted to win, but didn't always win. So even if I didn't, I'd still go to the semifinal rounds and to the finals because I wanted to see who was winning. Why were they winning? What was it that was happening that was making the judges lean in, that was making the audience members lean in? And then I would go home and I would tweak my speech so that I could improve it in terms of content and delivery. And then I would go to the next tournament with a new and improved version. And the takeaway here, ladies and gentlemen, is really very simple. You don't go back to the next tournament with a speech that doesn't win. But business and sales professionals do it all the time. People always want to improve their presentations, but they don't know where to start, and that can be costly. My keynotes and workshops are grounded in a multi-year, 3-phase research study that uncovered 12 common presentation mistakes that professionals say cost them a win, a deal, or an opportunity. I cut to the chase and eliminate the guesswork by sharing what the research revealed so that your team can craft a stronger presentation for their very next meeting, whether it's in person, virtual, or hybrid. Why focus on the mistakes? Because you can't improve what you don't recognize as a problem. We're all looking for that perfect spot-on gesture that's that combination of savvy and smart and clever that will help us to stand out. So if you're selling yourself on a job interview, or you're selling a product or a service or a philosophy or an idea, you're trying to present yourself and your ideas in a way that's attractive to people and inspires them to want to hear more. Hi, I'm Terri Sjodin. Whether it's a keynote, seminar, or small group workshop, every session is built to spark insight and real change. So one of the unique parts of my program is what happens immediately following my keynote or seminar. I talk a lot about the research in the event, but at the conclusion of my program, if you'd like, I invite all of your participants, your attendees, to take the exact same research survey that all of the formal research participants took in the State of Sales Presentations study. And then I curate a mini report just for your group so that you'll be able to look at the national data, but also compare it with your organization to define what are some of the areas that we can provide improvement on or additional training on in the future. There are 3 benchmarks to being presentation ready: case, creativity, and delivery. The first benchmark, case, includes the ability to craft a message that moves the listener to a desired outcome. One of the most common mistakes that people confess to is that their talks have become overly informative versus persuasive. Why do they need you? Now, the typical sales presentation that we see will start with something like this. We've been doing this for 25 years. We have excellent customer service. We have an incredible suite of products we can make available to you. We are here for the long term, and we genuinely care about our clients. Now, this sounds like a very reasonable list of things that you would sell in a presentation, but it's not compelling. It doesn't move people towards action. How do we know? Because things that move people towards action are the things that keep them awake awake at night. Now, this is a really big topic, but I want you to leave this section thinking to yourself, wow, if I went home and really reconstructed my case of my presentation, and I focused on what it is that they truly need, not the talking points that I've traditionally been communicating, would that list look different? And the answer is yes. And if you can identify right up front what your top 10 most persuasive and compelling arguments are, then you'll have them at the ready. You're not always going to use all 10 arguments, but you're going to pick and choose the arguments that become most relevant for those individuals at the appropriate time and space. The next benchmark is creativity, which addresses how your message resonates with your audience. It's much more than storytelling. And common missteps include a range of issues, from being boring, failing to connect with listeners, and so much more. Now, when I realized how really different it was going to be for us to present to all of these generations was an aha moment that I had at a concert. And it seemed like the kids were really there to see one performer in particular. Her name was Lady Gaga. So she comes out and she's sitting on her piano and she has this beautiful a cappella voice and she starts singing. And all the kids start singing with her. But then these screens come down and there's these text messages that are flying across the screens. So they're texting and they're singing and they're dancing and they're spinning. And I'm watching all of this. And I'm thinking, oh dear Lord, how will we ever sell them using PowerPoint, right? Because we won't. And the takeaway is really simple. We are no longer in a time where you can use a one-size-fits-all presentation and think that you're going to meet the needs of all of the different people that you're speaking to. The final benchmark is delivery. It speaks to your team's overall performance, their own unique style, movement, finesse, and the ability to execute and deliver their presentation effectively. Learning vicariously through the experiences of others gives people the power they need to transform their presentations almost overnight. So I want to spend a little time talking about the art of presenting, because there is an art to selling, and the art takes place in your delivery. Now, some people have a tendency to speak with their hands in their pockets. You probably don't think this is such a big deal, except that after a while, the energy's got to come out of somewhere, doesn't it? And they begin to do what we call the chicken, because their arms are going to just start flapping back and forth. Now, my favorites are the people that play with their keys or fiddle with their change. And after a while, you're kind of wondering just what the heck it is they're doing down there, right? Now, some people want to keep their arms locked behind their back, but then it looks like they're struggling to get away. Or they keep their arms locked at their sides and they gesture from here and they do what we call the penguin. And then, of course, there's the ever popular fig leaf. And sometimes the fig leaf gets exposed, which is weird, right? So it's just something to think about. There are so many different wonderful speakers that you can book, but if you're gonna book me, it's because you want somebody who's gonna provide practical, tactical, take-home value that people can use immediately to get results. So what's next? This whole process starts with a pre-event call. So let's set up a next steps conversation. I welcome the opportunity to learn more about your upcoming meeting or event.
Thank you all so much for sharing your time.